Well, hi there. Welcome to Give Your Walls Some Soul. I'm Shannon Grissom. Today we're painting a sock monkey. In fact, on the last show we painted a sock monkey, and on the show before that we painted a sock monkey. This has turned into an epic saga of my sock monkey and my favorite toy, duck toy. The exciting thing about this last and really it's going to be the final episode of the sock monkey, is that we're going to see the evolution. You'll get to see a finished product. You're going to see some scumbling and glazing techniques, and so it's really going to be exciting to see the whole thing take some form. But before we get started, I have to talk about a few of the paintings in the background. I got a lot of comments from the crew and actually children that have seen my paintings. And they had some questions about one painting in particular and about the backside of one of the sock monkeys. And this is the one that's going over the wall. Well, he's just a happy sock monkey, and it doesn't matter whether he's coming or going, he actually has a smile. And so I wanted to show you the actual sock monkey's backside. He really is smiling. He's just a happy guy. So he's smiling on the back and he's smiling on the front. So that I just thought it was really appropriate for him to go over the wall. And here he's struggling so hard, but he got over with a smile. So anyway, I'll put him back and we'll get started on the painting. He's got to hug his buddy. That's part of the whole still life setup. There we go. Now we're taking this duck from, right now he looks like stuck his finger in a light socket. His hair's pretty much fried. And he's going to be happy by the time we're through. He looks a little scared right now. The first thing I want to do is stop the monkey from floating. He looks like he's just floating in space. So what I need to do to ground him is add some darkness under here. So I'm going to mix up a dark color to get him just to look like he's sitting on something solid. Okay, so the first thing I'll do is take some ultramarine blue, and I'm going to mix that with a little bit of dioxazine purple. And I better clean my knife before I go grab some red. Right now this would be a little too cool, and you know me and red, I got to add a little red just to, oh, that's a nice dark, rich neutral color. I think that's a good, now I'm not mixing very much paint, but I'm just going to glaze this on and see how it works first before I commit to it. What do I mean by glazing? I'm taking a lot of medium and using that with the mix, and I'm going to go over what's already there. So I'm putting my brush in the medium. And okay, where he's sitting down here, it needs to be dark. That needs to be dark there. Right around his tail. Yeah. I'm just testing to see if I like the color. It's not bad. So I'm going to go ahead and put it down. The nice thing about glazing like this is if you don't like it, you can pretty much just wipe it off. If you use enough medium. If you don't use enough medium, you're stuck for a while till it dries. The nice thing about oils is that it's very forgiving, so no matter what you don't like, you can wait till it dries and paint over it. And I really prefer to work with oils because I like the fact that they are forgiving. Okay, that's dark. That looks better. I know it doesn't look like it yet, but it will. I'm just kind of scrubbing that in. Needs to be a little bit darker back here. That's already making that one little pom-pom start to pop, even though it doesn't have form yet. Okay, I'm not adding, as you can see, this is kind of a combination of glazing and scumbling. So I'm going with not much paint over the top of what's already there. And I'm blending that. I'm not sure how far I want to go on that, so I'm just going to leave it till I figure out what I want to do. Got a whole hour to decide. Okay, that looks better there. He doesn't look like he's floating so much now. I need to kind of soften this edge here, do the same thing I did there. I could use a softer brush, but I kind of like this little texture. I may use a softer brush to blend just the edges. Every time you do something like this, you're going to need to blend it with a, keep a paper towel handy in your hand and blend and wipe at the same time, so you don't have a lot of paint on your brush. I'm going to make it a little bit lighter where his tail's kind of up there. I might have over blended, but I really want to get all this other stuff to a certain degree of being finished, so I'm not going to overkill the background till I get to where I want to get with the rest of the painting. Okay, that's looking better. As you can see from the reference photo, I'm not a slave to the drawing. I'm going to pick this up where it meets this so that I can paint the edges all the way to the edges. Okay, and I just need to wipe some of the bottom of that off too, so that looks a little more civilized. So I use very little paint here. And I think I over blended. No, in fact, I know I over blended, but that's okay. He's not floating anymore. So I need to put a little more paint down, just right here. Yeah, that's better. I also think that he'd really he'd come forward a lot more too if this background was darker. And I'm tempted to throw some of that same blue over there too. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll just brighten it up a little. It'll be the same value, it'll be darker, but it's going to be brighter. Now, if I used a bigger brush, you wouldn't have as many strokes, but I like the texture that's coming in the background. So that's why I'm doing this. I may blend it out later with another brush. Kind of looks like confetti going on back there. But I don't want the busyness of the background to take over the whole thing, so I think I probably will. You can't fall in love with this too early. Gotta wait. So I put it down, and because I've used the medium, it's going to dry fairly quickly. So I want to, or it might not dry, but it'll get tacky. So I want to blend this right away. And it all depends on how hot it is in the location that you're painting. And it's pretty warm here. Okay. Yeah. What that did was that's pushing him forward more. I think I'll actually blend some of this right over the top of that. And so it's not boring. I add a little green to that. Pick up some extra color. I'm not going quite to the edges yet because I don't want I'm going to be putting other color down and I don't want to mix it with that yet. I'm not ready. Can't rush a good monkey. I do appreciate the emails I got with pictures of your sock monkeys. That was fun to see. I think a lot of people had these for toys. Okay, that's a good start for now. I'll blend a little bit more, and then we'll work on the monkey and make him pop. Monkey and the duck. See, parts of this dry flat and parts of it dry glossy. So at the end, I always put something over the top, whether it's a medium or a varnish, to even out the look of the painting. And you can see now that what I've painted in the background, because it's wet, is still shiny. And this will actually dry fairly shiny because it's got so much medium in it. But there are also certain pigments, like some of the blocks, that just soak it up. Okay, so what do we want to work on next? I think let's add some highlights to the rib part of the socks. That's something that would make a big difference right away. So I think I'll do that. Going to mix a light color with some titanium white and a little bit of cad yellow deep, and maybe just a touch of Indian yellow. And I'm going to find all the light places and put it there. Very systematic at this point. Use a smaller brush. I want to get in those ribs. I used a good amount of medium, but that's just to make the paint move. I'm not glazing this time. I'm pretty much using a thicker paint application. Okay, so right here is light. So I'm really doing is reestablishing all the light areas and reestablishing all the dark areas. And I'm not doing just one. I'm doing staggered lines, because if they're all just one line, it really doesn't look natural. We have to have a natural looking sock monkey. That's very important. Okay, so there's some more light here. There's more light there. That was too long of a straight line. I can break that up with some dark after. Let's see, what is this doing here? I just keep looking to see what direction these things go in. And what is this sock doing? This tail. There's a little bit of rib on the rib here. I'm finding all the highlighted places. There's a little bit of, I may change a little bit of the lighting that was on here, just to make it a better painting. Again, not being a slave to the photograph. That looks good. The ribs are starting to get some dimension. We'll add some other color in there later. They're also not the same thickness. Don't want them to be boring. Okay, that looks pretty good there. Now I'm going to take a look at where are some other light areas on him. I need to change the color a little bit. If I use that same light color every place that I put a light, it would just, again, I'm trying to avoid something being boring, so we want to add some color interest. So I'm going to warm it up a little, just use a little bit of orange, a little more orange in that mixture. Take it straight from the pile and mix it on some, like his tail. Okay, so it's light right here. There's not a lot different from what was there. I may or may not leave that. And I'm going to overstate the lights because you can always mix into them later with some of the darker colors, but it's harder to go over the light and make it bigger once you've got dark underneath. So I'm making it wider than it needs to be. Okay, what about the light side of his hat and his face? I'm not going to put all those ribs. If you look at the other sock monkey paintings, you get the idea of what he's doing, but you don't see all the ribs and every little stitch in his face. I don't find it necessary to put that kind of detail in. It's just a personal preference. So I'm putting in the light there. This side of his face is light. Gonna have to work on those lips. Okay. Yeah. And it's lighter right around here. And while I'm at it, there's actually some light parts of the duck that I can use the same color for, so I'm going to go for it. Varying it again just a little bit so that it's not boring. Let's see. I love his little hair, just sticking out all over the place. There's some light under here. And his little bill, too. Probably get a smaller brush out for that. Okay, now I'm going to jump track, and this is kind of funny because his hair is so, it's so white, and it just cracks me up because the rest of his face does not match. I really need to work on that. I got to tell you, this happens at home in the studio. I start laughing all by myself too. So I need to lighten his face on the lights where the light hits it, so that makes sense. Half his face is in shadow and half of it's light, so we need to just kind of even this out a little bit. You know, if you can't laugh at what you're doing, you know, at least with me, I'd be in trouble, because I come up with some doozies. At least he doesn't look so scared. My goodness, he was scared looking before. Scary. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of yellow. Let's see. I think it's that little shadow I got carried away last time, or was it the time before, on the shadow in there. So I'm going to add some yellow right over the top of that dark. I'm going to use a brush that's pretty worn and scruffy, and that'll make great fur. Yeah. Going straight into some yellow and a little orange. I'm going to put that right over the top and see what that does. That's too bright. Tone it down a little bit. Toning it down by adding white. Now the reference photo doesn't show this variation in here, but I'm going to put it in. Because the photo is not going to show you everything that's really happening in real life. That's why it's nice to paint from life. Okay, getting a little fuzzy here. That's working. I'm just going straight into the paint, not making any mixes. We've got a good base already. I'm going right over the top of what we have, and in some cases I'm just leaving what was there and adding a little bit. And what I'm working on now is just making sure there's not just such an abrupt change between his hair and his face and the different colors in his hair. And I'm stepping back to look at that. He still looks funny. I gotta work on him some more. He may always look funny, but I gotta do something about this. I keep him around because he makes me laugh. Okay, that's a better transition. And now I'm going to add some orange here so that that's not such a jarring transition here either. And I need to do something about his poor little eyes. That's next. Or soon, anyway. Okay. I think that was just too strong. And then that was too weak. So you can actually just take, like I said, you can take the paper towel and wipe off pretty much what I did. Good. Okay, well, that's better. Wow, I think I like that. All right, so that's working. That was a surprise to me. I thought I was just, I'd have to go to another stage, but it's actually working. So what I did was I wiped off what I didn't like. Now I'm going to add some red to the shady side of his face because it was just a little too cold. And I want it to be also reflecting some light from the pom-poms. And that's just, now I'm using a dry brush technique, only there was just way too dry. There was not enough on my brush. And that's just basically, you know, dry brush is just using a dry brush and scrubbing over the top of what's there. That's nice. I do a lot of layering, whether it's glazing or dry brush. Most of my paintings are not direct, they're very layered. Indirect method of painting. You really don't see much of what's going on with this other eye, so I'm going to put that into shadow. I'm going to add some red where this meets this area here, so there's not this huge transition. That's better. And I need to see what's going on right here. Blend that a little bit. That was just a little too much. Okay. What can we do about his mouth? We need to clean that up. Just, I'll actually use a smaller brush just to clean that up. I'm using a nice sable, something I would use on a traditional portrait to fix this duck's face. Why the sable? It's got smooth bristles, has a lot of control, and I'll be able to carve out his little mouth easier than I would with a brush with less control. Okay, we want him to have a little grin because his mouth's open, but he doesn't really look like he's grinning, so we want to accentuate that. That's better. Oops, now he looks like he has a little mustache, so I'm going to just go over that with the lighter color. Get rid of the little hair that's there. That's better. I'm going to put a little red over the top of his, a little red over the top of his tongue. And I don't think this shape needs to be, this has to be darker. That will make more sense if that side is darker like the rest of his face. So I'm just taking some red and repeating some of those areas. I'm actually working on some really cool, not cool as in interesting, but cool as in cold, cooler paintings in the studio. I don't know, maybe I'm working on 2 of them. And so they started off with everything's in a cool range as opposed to this where all my shadows are warm. We'll see if they end up that way, but it was a fun exercise to start out. Okay. I may leave him alone. Time to go work on the monkey some. I want to work all over the painting first and then go back and do some of the details. But the duck is looking, not quite so scared, a little happier than he was when we first started. He didn't look so scary or scared. I guess that's what it was. This has to be dark. His chin is in shadow. So I'm going to grab a little dioxazine purple and just put that all in the shadow. See, that's better. That really makes his mouth pop open. And you know what? If this was darker too, not that dark. I get carried away sometimes. Imagine that. If you didn't see the other 2 episodes, I started painting the sock monkey as it was my mom's as a tribute to her, and then it cracked me up, so I started painting several sock monkey paintings, and over the years I've done quite a few. And in fact, I just wrote a children's book about the sock monkey, and that should be out soon. But I see, we had a 3-part series of the show. Maybe a year from now we may do another series of sock monkeys because there'll be more material coming. He's a lot of fun, and he just cracks me up. Okay, that's pretty much in shadow there. Now let's take a look at, except that little highlight. What a great duck. Okay, and so do I need to, I'm afraid to make this a little too dark because that's what made him scary before. We'll just try it. We can always go over it. Yep, I overdid it. Let's see what happens if I wipe it off. I may have to just reinstate the light. I'm going to leave him alone for now and work on the monkey. We'll do some monkey lips for a little bit. Okay, so most of his lips are in the light, so we'll get some cad red light and brighten those puppies up. What am I looking for when I'm looking through these brushes? I'm looking for one that's a medium size that has, probably another sable that has a decent amount of control. And I'm not liking any of the brushes that I'm seeing here. Kind of a Princess and the Pea thing here. So what I'm going to do is wipe off the one brush I was using because it was really perfect. And see if I can't use that, dip that in the red and see if that works. Okay. So he needs to be, I should use that on the dark side until I work some of this off my brush. Every time kids see this, they think he's got lippy stick, but that's just the color of his lips. Well, yeah, I do make them a little redder. Again, I overdid it a little bit, so I'll just have to tone it down. Yeah, I'm kind of like a kid. You have fun, you start getting carried away. You just have to, oops. Well, the oops was I changed the shape of his lips. And you'll notice in all the different paintings that I do, his lips are a different shape in almost every painting, and that's probably because I do make little drawing errors every time. And I think rather than try to clean that up that way, I'll get some light and go over the top. If you've seen some of the other shows, most of the time my painting is more frenzied and it's fast, and you see a lot happening at one time. When you get to this part of the painting, it's more contemplative. And you can be at the almost done with a painting stage for weeks. So it's interesting to see where this goes. Okay, I like the shape of the lips better. I'm fixing his face at the same time, adding some orange right there for interest. I got sidetracked. Okay, I didn't finish the lips. I just saw that I needed this and I'm putting it in. Is that good? I don't know. Doesn't matter as long as you get it all done. Sometimes I do get a little carried away with the red. So I'm going to blend that now and see what happens. Using a stiffer brush. You can hear it. I'm scrubbing, or maybe you can't. I don't know. But I'm scrubbing this to create a new tone. I think I'll add some purple because I like it. There went my knife. Okay. Need to have some cooler colors on the shadow side of his face. It can't all be warm, much as I'd like to make everything warm. This part of it just needs to fade into the background. Okay, so that's his face is starting to get some form, a little bit of form. I'm not happy unless it's three-dimensional. Okay, what does that need? He needs a little bit lighter. Thinking about how much time we have left in the show, this is the stuff that's running through my head. Do I have time to play with this? Do I have time to play with this? And I would really like to develop the lips further, but what I'm going to do is just keep moving and work on the entire painting as a whole. And then as I see that I have time left in the show, then I'll definitely work on some of the details. So I'm going to see how far I can get. Blend this here. These pom-poms need addressing. A lot of stuff needs addressing. Okay. Well, he's got to have some light where's the light side of the pom-poms? I'm going to do those next. So we've got some light here. Now the trick with these things is I just put the stroke down and I quit playing with it and just leave it. So put it down and move on to the next little stringy area. And that's easier said than done because then I want to play with it and do something different. So I'm just going to quickly rough this in and move on to the next area. Can I tell you how hard it is not to futz with it? Okay. There's some light here. Got to just be bold and let it tweak out a little bit. Because, you know, after all these years, your hair would stick out too. I'm focusing on the light side of the pom-poms, or wherever there is light. Because I've already got dark. In fact, I've got way too much dark. So I'm going to be focused on putting the light and the medium tones in now. So I pretty much over-blended in the last episode. And that's what happened there. But you know what? In the middle stages of a painting, it's you know, I view it like my adolescence. You know, it was awkward, and I know I was an awkward-looking person in my adolescence, and I think paintings go through that stage too. Yeah, you know, I hate sometimes. Well, people come in the studio in the middle of a painting, and they're silent, or they make interesting comments. And the way I would equate that is if you saw a cake in the oven and it was baking, you just poured the batter in there. It's too early yet to tell what that cake is going to turn out like until it's fully formed. So once it's done, then I'm open. But I'm a pain when it's in the middle of the process. And basically, I just don't show people till it's done. Okay, I'm going to be playing with that too much. Yeah. Okay, so now I need to put in the middle part of the pom-poms so that they start getting some more form again. Now they're just more of like a light blob, and you really can't tell what's going on. So I will put that in. Okay, so there's some darker. Oh, that's gorgeous! Love that. Nice little dark. See, I'm overdoing it. I have to work on that. Okay. Let's see, where's the dark side of this pom-pom over here? I was talking to a gal I know, Jill, last night about the pom-poms, and she was thinking she missed the rest of the episode, but she'll be able to see the... I said, nope, I never did finish the painting, so she'll be able to see it. Okay, let's... Overdid that, too. Got to keep moving. The other thing that I've found about the middle part of a painting is I'm not, imagine this, I am not objective about my own work. So I need to let it sit, I need to let it rest for a few days before I can to really decide whether I've messed it up or not, because I'm not objective. And what am I doing? How am I achieving this look with these pom-poms so they're starting to pop out? I'm basically just putting in lights and mediums, the dark's already there from the last show. Okay. I need to add dark to just a little bit this side of his face just because I want it to have some form. I had to touch those lips, said I wasn't going to, but I did. Okay, that's getting a little more form. I'm getting back from that. It really pretty much looks like it's all the same color, so I'm going to have to... Yeah, I got to leave him alone. Keep moving. Okay. The rest of the body of the monkey, I think he got a little too dark too in my overblending zeal last time. Now, you know, humans have red, especially guys' ears are really red. They have capillaries really close to the skin. And since my monkey is alive in my world, I'm going to give him red ears too. But he needs some midtones. And I think they need to be orangey. I'm going to get a scruffy, real stiff brush and dry brush some orange over the top and give him some form. Lighten him up a little. This poor monkey needs to lighten up. That's not enough. I'm doing a circular motion. And you know what? I'd like to tell you that that there is a logical reason for this. But if you look at a lot of the paintings that I do, everything's just kind of swirly and circular. So it's not a logical reason to do that. That's just part of my brushstroke signature. So if you wanted something really blended or you wanted to go in a certain direction, there's not a problem with that. This is just something that I like to do, not something you have to do. And you know me with rolls, you know, as long as you can get the job done, I don't think you should be stuck painting a certain way. This is just one way to get it done. Okay, let's see. His poor little body over here needs a little help. I overdid the shadow. And this just looks not good. So I'll add red over the top of that, and that'll blend into what's there. It was just a little too light. Whoops, that was too red. And rather than try to work with that, this is definitely a case for paper towel man. Yeah, instant gratification. Okay, what am I going to do here? Add a little bit of, I still have too much. I got to get that red off my brush, or I'll do the same thing I just did. Okay, we'll add some color here. Need to blend a little hair around his tail. Ooh, I'm going to try putting some Indian yellow over here and see what happens. Well, that was an experiment I didn't like. We'll go back to the red. And liven up his ears a little bit. Okay, I need to really address this part of his body, and I actually, in order to make this part, this is just one big dark blob, and that's not good. So I need to actually mix some colors to address that. So I'm going to take a little bit of green. I know that looks really bright, but I'm going to cut that with red. Not just because it's my favorite, because it's opposite on the color wheel, and it's going to eventually make a nice brown. Add a little more red, a little more cad yellow deep. Need more than that, because it looks like tick green. And that's not a good color. Okay, this is better. Add a little bit of blue, a little more red. There. We have a nice sock monkey neutral color. Let's see how it compares to this. It is lighter, kind of green. So I need a little more orange and a little lighter. There. Nothing that a chainsaw won't fix. Okay, that's a good color, I think. Nice neutral. Nice neutral body color, okay. Because you gotta have, if there was just too much dark there and it just looked like a black hole. And that will help fix this side of him too. Again, this is one of those cases where the photograph looked really dark, but that doesn't work for the painting. Now what I'm doing toward the last part of this show is just to tidy up all his little body parts. Overstating some of that, I'll have to add some white in there. I'm readdressing every area so that I can see where his form is. Just pretty much visiting everything that we've done so far. Blending some of the areas. This needs some color in there, but I do need to reinstate some of the dark just a little bit because I overdid it. This has been a day of overdoing. That's better. Okay, so it's going to be dark under here, just in this one little area, and his body in the middle will be lighter, because he does have a chubby little tummy. Got to do something with that bow, too. Yeah, he's starting to get a little more form in here. He was looking pretty flat there for a while. Okay, now it's time for me to stand back and see. Okay, so the pom-poms are starting to pop out. His arms are starting to pop out. And what I really need to do, add a little bit of color. And no, I'm not going to make this a 4-quarter. I won't be able to get him totally done, but he'll be pretty close. He's a lot further along than he was when we started. Okay, so what do we need to add some life to this? You need to get brave. Let's add some, just throw in some color on his tail. Add this part of his little rib part of his sock. Needs some variation of color in places. And just be bold with it. And don't put it in the same place all over again, because then it looks uniform and it gets boring. Okay, so I need some light there to reinstate some of his form on his arm. Yeah, his arm was getting squished again. It's gone from having form to not having form to getting squished. So we'll put that back in. Now in the reference photo, there's a really squirrely shadow there, and you know what? That just doesn't work for me in the painting. There. Also, which I haven't addressed, is some of the darks in the ribs need to be reinstated. So I'll see if I can do some of that. Find a smaller brush. I looked at that brush and just thought, I'm asking for it if I use that one. Sometimes I do it anyway. Not in public, though. Okay. Why was I asking for it? Because it was just a little more splayed than it needed to be. Okay, so we need to have some extra ribs here. That's a little too red. And make this stuff start to pop. And I'm going all over the place so that it's not the same colors everywhere. Except that those, that would be good, but those colors were not happy next to each other. Okay. Almost lost all these little ribs. I'll have to put those back in. And when you get this far in, okay, so that's starting to pop out a little bit more. Now I need to add a little more so that those aren't isolated. Now I can put in some of the reds and oranges, and it's not going to be quite such a shocker. And I'm using a really splayed brush on purpose. I don't want too much control here. It's like an oxymoron. You're controlling the amount of non-control that you have. Swirling in some of this. You know, I'm just working all over the canvas to get this to a fairly finished state. Okay, now I take a look at it, and in the last minute or two, I'm looking at the piece saying, okay, what can I do to make this monkey happy? Well, he's starting to take some form. I think I want to address his little face a little bit more. Oh, let's make his eyes red. They're pretty red. That's a little too dark. That didn't help much, huh? Needs to be even lighter than that. I have to go into the cadmium for that. Oops. We don't want him to be a nasty little monkey. He needs to be happy. Okay, that's better. I didn't like his attitude on that. Okay. Then what can I do about now his eyes are red, but I do need to give him a little eyeliner. This monkey likes his makeup. Okay. I'm looking for a little liner brush. Yeah, this might work. We'll see. It might be a little too stiff. Putting his eyelashes back in. And his little button eyes. I remember we had a little eyelash issues last time, so I'm not going to put all those in again. And his eyes don't quite line up, but you know what? They don't in real life, so that's just, I'm going to leave them that way. I need to do something with this little bow. Add a little bit of light there. Okay, so nope, even though it was a three-parter, we got a lot done. I still didn't finish the painting, but you know what? I'll just bring it in next time and show you what I did. I'm not making this a four-parter. I don't want to bore you, but you could at least see the techniques and where I go. Basically, to get it to the next stage, I do exactly what I did today, and I'd probably laugh again, but just do more of the same thing until I got it to a stage where I thought everything was balanced. So I hope you paint, take this lesson, what you take from this lesson is to paint what you like. Laughing is good, and it's really good to enjoy this subject. And just go ahead and have fun with it. And, there are things that will happen that will go wrong. You can fix them later. Just pick something that's forgiving. And just basically have fun. Go ahead and give your own wall some soul. Thanks for watching. Bye.